What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and today we're going to be breaking down the top 10 things you need to be keeping an eye on for the Philadelphia Eagles matchup against the New York Giants. Home game, finally back home, getting off, probably the worst part of our schedule all season long, having to go on the West Coast and play the Seahawks and the Rams. But, elephant in the room, man. No Carson Wentz. Life after Carson Wentz. It was good to see. But what day is today? I'm recording this on a Wednesday. He had successful ACL surgery. And I know everyone, myself included, thinks he's going to get that Zlatan Ibrahimovic / AP gene. He'll be back week 1. Wishful thinking. But I'm glad that he was able to get it done now. Sooner than later is the best bet for him to be healthy for next season. So, it's now or never for everything else. We got to get behind Nick Foles. We'll talk about it later. Let's jump through the 10 things that you need to keep an eye on for this Eagles matchup against the Giants, which has massive implications for the Philadelphia Eagles postseason aspirations. So point number 10 is that the Giants still have absolutely no run game. I liked Wayne Gallman at Clemson, and I think he probably is the most talented running back on that roster, and he started to get it going a little bit last week, but ultimately there's no run game. Their offensive line is horrendous, and it's a good matchup for the Philadelphia Eagles defense right at the start. We are outside of a slip-up last week, a couple big runs from Todd Gurley, who is one of the best running backs in football right now, a legitimate MVP candidate if you're looking at outside skill positions and not just including quarterbacks. And there's not a Todd Gurley on the Giants roster, so I think that you have to try to establish some running game to make anything really work. And I don't see the Giants being able to do that against Philadelphia. And that really plays into Philadelphia's hand because that's how we do. We kill the run game and the rest will follow. Going to point number 9. However, if the Giants do get a little bit of the run going, they can set the play action pass. Evan Engram. I think Evan Engram could be a problem. A speedy linebacker like Jordan Hicks would be nice to have. We don't have that to cover the speedy tight end of an Evan Engram. So that means it's going to be more so Michael Kendricks and Nigel Bradham trying to cover him. And man, honestly, Malcolm Jenkins has not looked good this season at all. I'm not saying he's a liability. He's had ups and downs, whereas pretty much for his entirety of his Eagles career, he has been one of our best consistent performers. This so far has been a down year for Malcolm Jenkins, and if it is Malcolm Jenkins trying to cover such a guy, a young stallion, if you will, of Evan Ingram's caliber, especially his athletic nature, that could be a bad time. So if this goes wrong for the Philadelphia Eagles, I think Evan Engram would have a massive part to do for it on the Giants. So definitely keep an eye on him. Number 8 is Big V going up against Olivier Vernon is a key battle. I would assume Brent Selleck, who just had a new baby boy, congratulations to him, he should get some action to help. I mean, offensive line is limping in as well. I mean, looks like Wisniewski is going to be probably closer to a game-time decision, even though Doug Peterson believes he's going to play. And we all know that with Warmack or Ciamalo in there, they are not good. If that is our left side, having Big V and Ciamalo or Big V and Chance Warmack, I mean, the Giants' defensive line still has talent. They haven't been performing really high, but they still have snacks. They still have JPP, and on that left side, they got to stop up Olivier Vernon, who can, at any given week, have a monster day. So that is definitely something to keep an eye on, because we don't have Carson Wentz back there anymore. That can kind of make up for the downfalls of the offensive line. Nick Foles is, I think, maybe a little bit more mobile than people give him credit for, but he's also not Carson Wentz. And that is going to be the number one thing. A lot of people think Nick Foles can come in and execute the offense, but there's just certain traits that Carson Wentz had that kind of mitigate the loss of Jason Peters and made people like Skip Bayless act like losing Jason Peters wasn't a big deal. We don't have that with Nick Foles, so that is definitely a big-time key matchup for the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. Number 7 is Zach Ertz returns, which is good. Luckily enough, Philly might have the most depth at tight end in the league. Brent Selleck is a guy, if Brent Selleck's a guy that realistically, if we didn't have he could start. Brent Selleck could start in this league. Trey Burton can start in this league, and now we have Zach Ertz in. Ertz is better than those guys, and it's definitely better to have that safety net out there. But we're not going to throw any shade at Zach Ertz. But obviously we've seen when Trey Burton was in there, the 2 games that Zach Ertz has missed. I think he's 4 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, or something crazy like that. So Trey Burton is a beast, but it is always good to have Zach Ertz back because he is having a Pro Bowl caliber season, and that'll definitely help out Nick Foles. Going to point number 6 is Rod Smith's performance last week for the Dallas Cowboys. Reed almost had 200 yards from scrimmage. He was their third down back. Really says maybe Corey Clement will have a big day on the day for us. He's pretty much our third down back. Corey Clement, out of all the running backs, has taken over that Darren Sproles role. Was he at 7 touchdowns like that? I mean, it's unbelievable the kind of year he's having. And at first, so many people were asking when they picked him as undrafted free agent what my thoughts were on Corey Clement. I was like, we'll wait and see. But then when I saw what he brought in the preseason, I think it was preseason week 2 or 3, I heralded him as a poor man's Arian Foster. And by the production that we're getting out of him, obviously a little bit different play style than Foster because Clement is getting a lot of his production as a receiving back. But I like the way he runs. Honestly, if I'm being serious right now, Clement could be the future running back in Philadelphia. No, we know Zellner is here for 2 more, well, this year and next year, right? But Zellner has that knee injury, and that was the reason why Zellner wasn't like a first, second round back when he was coming to Boise State, because so many people thought he would play really the life of his rookie deal. Then after that, the knee may start to dwindle a little bit, and I think that is kind of annoying. But seeing how Corey Clement is playing and his size, I think he could be at some point in the future the starting running back here in Philadelphia, and that is awesome, man. That is 100% credit to the addition of Joe Douglas. These weren't signings that we're making when Howie Roseman was in charge. These weren't even signings that we're making when Chip Kelly was in charge. Joe Douglas has come in and done a masterful job of building this Philadelphia Eagles roster. I know we don't officially have a GM. We have Howie Roseman as VP of Football Operations. I think to prevent Joe Douglas from getting poached to other teams for that GM role, kind of making an upgraded move, we have to promote him to general manager. He has done a spectacular job. I think he is almost as big as Carson Wentz has been playing for the Philadelphia Eagles this season. Hot take. Number 5 is watch for quick throws like game 1. That was like the first real big shaky game the Philadelphia Eagles had. It took a Jake Elliott 61-yard field goal to beat the Giants week 1. Completely different roster. The Giants team that we played, game 1, sorry. I think we played on week 3. This is a much weaker squad from that. They don't have Odell, and I think a couple of their offensive linemen, Pugh's gone, Richburg's gone. But the way that they were doing, they were finding success because there's no way our defensive line could take over that game. We knew they weren't going to run the ball, so they just have Eli Manning throw it on like 1 second drop back. So definitely key in to try to stop that now. They still have Sterling Shepard, who's a good player. Roger Lewis is capable, and like I said at the top, Evan Engram could very well be a problem. But I do believe that because of the game tape they already have on them, we're going to be prepared to stop that. I mean, it's difficult to stop regardless because you're not getting any pressure, but I think because of those quick throws, maybe, Jim Schwartz doesn't dial up as many blitzes and has them try to beat us long or something like that. I don't particularly know what the game plan would be, but that's definitely something to watch for this game as to how Jim Schwartz approaches stopping Eli Manning. Going to number 4 is feed Zellner. No more LeGarrette Blount momentum-killing runs. LeGarrette Blount has had a couple spectacular runs with the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was the power back that we were dying for. But he is right now with the Zellner, who's, pretty much a power back. You would definitely consider Zellner more of a power back than any other type. Zellner needs to be our lead back. You bring in LeGarrette Blount on 3rd and 1s, and not even 3rd and 1s. I don't even want LeGarrette Blount. You bring LeGarrette Blount in when we need to kill off a game. That's where you want LeGarrette Blount. Because even on 3rd and 1s, they always try to have these deep zone, like 6 yards behind the line of scrimmage runs that failed when we had DeMarco Murray here. And that's not going to work because LeGarrette Blount doesn't have enough time to build any momentum, any steam, and he just gets a 1 or 2 yard gain. And I'm sick and tired of Deuce Staley. Every time Zellner gets a good run going, he keeps trying to keep this balance. That's why I'm continually, every Eagles video, Deuce Staley is my enemy number 1 right now. Okay, because his commitment to his running back room is frustrating, and it's costing. The Eagles are leaving yards out there because they keep trying to give LeGarrette Blount A, B, and C amount of carries, and they're not just clearly saying, look, Zellner's getting 6 yards a carry attempt, and you got LeGarrette Blount struggling to get 2. You got Corey Clement who gets 4 or 5. Blunt's getting 2. Blount has a role for this offense. You bring in LeGarrette Blount to kill off games. Until then, maybe give him a carry or 2, but Zellner needs to be getting 15 to 20 carries a game, and you have Clement getting those 3rd down and occasional long carries, and then you have to find a way to get Blount in. Versus what we see right now, where it seems like he wants to have a 50-50 between Blount and Ajayi, and then you have Corey Clement come in for 3rd downs. That is not working, and we need to feed Ajayi, especially with no more Carson Wentz. We have to become a dominant run team, and LeGarrette Blount leading or getting close to the same amount of carries as Ajayi is not going to do that. Going to point number 3 is now it's time to show off how good this team is. Clearly, we would not be where we are. We would not be 11-2 if we didn't have Carson Wentz playing like the MVP. And as of me recording this video, Carson Wentz is the MVP of this football league. But We need to show that this team still is good, and on paper, eliminating Carson Wentz, the way that this team is built, from the offensive line to the running backs to the wide receivers to the defense, this is still a playoff caliber team. Now it's trying to show that. Now it's trying to almost fill into the narrative that Carson Wentz didn't deserve to be MVP because the team around him was so good that, you know, he wouldn't be as big of a loss. That was a big debate for Russell Wilson getting the MVP award, because if Brady and Wentz weren't on their respective teams, those teams still would be pretty competitive, versus Russell Wilson, if he was on the Seahawks, they would be bottom tier in this league. So now it's time to maybe prove that narrative right and show that, you know, even though we're losing Carson Wentz, Nick Foles can get the job done. But more so than Nick Foles, it's everyone else can bring and elevate Nick Foles' game, and the defense can start to take over games. So that's, you know, it's a great test, a good opportunity against the Giants team that's, you know, really kind of going through the motions to end out the season. Going to point number 2 is that if we win this game, we get a first-round bye. If we win this game and the Vikings lose, we get first-round bye and home field advantage, which is now very, very crucial. We don't have to worry about, you know, not, you know, resting our starters week 17 to prevent injury, even in case of getting that home field advantage or anything like that. Now we have Nick Foles playing. Let him sling it. Let's go for the jugular here. Get this win. Get the bye, which is nice. Gives more preparation time for Nick Foles with the starter. But get that win. Pray. I don't know what I think the Vikings are playing the Bengals. If you can get that game, I don't know if hopefully it's at 5 o'clock so I can watch both of them and cheer against the Vikings. You know, put your food. Carson Wentz is now home. We all know he loves God more than any man on the face of the earth. He better be praying that the Minnesota Vikings can slip up and lose to the Cincinnati Bengals, which is a probability. I mean, I would not bet against the Vikings to lose that game, but the Bengals are a scrappy team, and they might have Joe Mixon back, which is a big plus. So, but more importantly, get the win, handle business, control what we can control, and secure the next progression of postseason glory for the Philadelphia Eagles, which is a first-round bye. And the last point, Nick Foles. We have Nick Foles now. I have my Nick Foles jersey. I'm going to wash it. It's going to be ready to go. We need to rally behind our quarterback. Things you need to know. I've seen tweets. Someone said that through the first 24 games, Nick Foles had better stats than Carson Wentz. And Nick Foles is a good quarterback. We were talking about it in my last live stream. I think we came up with 8 teams that Nick Foles debatably could start on at the beginning of this football season. So he's definitely not, like I said, we're not like the Raiders last year where Derek Carr went down and they had to go to Matt McGloin, or when I think I said when Carson Palmer went down for the Cardinals, they had to go to Drew Stanton. We have a pretty good scenario, and if you're trying to be optimistic, you just need to think, what if he can tap into that 27-2 season? What if Nick Foles can remind everyone that he went to the Rams and was lowly a little bit, but there's a reason why, because that was that Jeff Fisher's Rams, the same Rams that were horrendous last year, and now with a new coach, pretty much the same roster, a little bit of upgrade on the offensive line, they are the best prolific offense in football, along with the Philadelphia Eagles. So there is plenty of optimism and reasons to be excited about Nick Foles. Sure, our playoff chances have taken a significant hit, but Nick Foles is not a liability. The way I was thinking about this myself was like, how many plays were Carson Wentz making a game that normal quarterback wouldn't make? Like big wow plays, like, wow, if we didn't have Carson Wentz there, you know, that play wouldn't happen. You probably get, I would say, 6 to 8, somewhere in that range of just wow plays from Carson Wentz on a weekly basis. Nick Foles can give you 2 to 3. So that is why I think if the rest of the team can step up, if we can run the ball well, if we can play good defense, if we can make sure we stop the run and get pressure on opposing teams' quarterbacks, Nick Foles, we saw with that 3rd down completion against the Rams with Nelson Aguilar. Nick Foles is capable of 2 to 3 wild plays, 2 to 3, like, yeah, man, he's not a terrible quarterback. He is not a liability. If he protects the football, can make 2 to 3 wild plays, and everyone else steps it up, this is still a very complete Philadelphia Eagles team that could be very competitive for the month of December and onward. So my MVP prediction for this game is I'm wishful thinking, because I still think I'm going to be just, all my Twitter's going to be crapping on Deuce Staley. I'm going with Jai, wishful thinking that he's going to get, I would say, between 15 and 18 carries in this game, emerges as a lead back, but we all know very well that probably won't happen. But if, you know, I do believe if Jai, we give him those carries, he's going to have 100+ yards and a touchdown on the day. So there you go, guys. Let me know what you guys think about this upcoming matchup between the Eagles and the Giants. Always going to be very, very competitive NFC East battle. And until next time, it's C4 Sam. It's your first time stopping by. Don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button, and peace out.